Hello and welcome to our poster on imagery as predictive perception. The work is led by Eleonora Parotta together with myself and Dr. Katrina McDonough at the University of Aberdeen. It was funded by the Leverhulme Trust. In this work we try to better understand which processes underpin our ability to imagine something. And we hypothesized that imagery could be very similar as forming an expectation. So we know, for example, that when we see a moving stimulus, participants' judgments are systematically biased towards how they expect the stimulus to move. And if imagery is like forming an expectation, then imagery should also induce very similar biases and judgments. So not only towards how people expect the stimulus to move, but how they've imagined the stimulus to move. We tested this idea in a social perception paradigm, in which people watch hands reaching for objects. At some point along the way, the hands disappear, and participants simply report with their mouse what the last seen position of the hand was. What we find in these tasks over multiple experiments is that their judgments are systematically biased by their expectations of what they think the hand should do. So if you see a hand reach towards an object, but there's an obstacle in between, participants reported to have disappeared slightly higher than it really did, as if they mentally added the avoidance of the obstacle to what they've observed. Conversely, when the path is clear, they report the hand to have disappeared slightly lower, towards this expectation of a straight reach that the hand could now make. And we tested whether asking participants, before they saw these actions, to either imagine a high arch trajectory or a very flat straight trajectory, if this would induce similar biases to their judgments. And this is exactly what we find in two pre-registered experiments. If you plot participants' reported hand disappearance points for flat reaches and for high arched reaches, we find that they're systematically biased, both towards what they expect the hand to do, so reach higher if there's an obstacle in the way and lower if the path is clear, but also what they imagine, so their judgments are slightly higher when they just imagined a high arch reach and slightly lower if they imagined the hand to reach in the straight way. So this suggests that participants' imagination induces very similar biases to their judgments as the expectations they have about how the movements continue. Strikingly, this even works if you ask participants not to imagine different actions, but different situations. So their judgments are also biased upwards if you ask them to imagine there's an obstacle in the way, even though there's not, perhaps. Or if you ask them to imagine that the path is clear, even though perhaps an obstacle is in the way. Together, we believe that these data provide important evidence that imagery can be conceptualized in a similar way as forming an expectation. Not only does imagery induce similar perceptual distortions as expectation, we find that imagery can also drive expectations by making people form expectations about how things would behave in the imagined realities. Thank you very much.